Oh, no, hang on.
Yeah.
A, B,
I was
C.
waiting for you to figure that out. The alphabet.
Ask the Hosts, episode 10. I'm Joe, and it's just me, but only for the intro, don't worry. I'll be joined by plenty of other hosts soon. The idea for the show is very simple. You send us questions to show@askthehost.com, and we answer them. The catch, though, is that they can be about anything you want, except for Linux and open source. A quick thank you to everyone who supports us. It's really appreciated. And as a thank you, our patrons get this in their feeds 2 weeks before everyone else does. So links at askthehost.com/support. So this is going to be a mixed bag of hosts. For the first question, I'm joined by Félim from Late Night Linux and Kevin from Linux Dev Time. Joe asks, not me, what's your brew of choice? Now, I don't know, does this count as tea and coffee as well as beers? Let's say it does.
I was actually going to ask if we could expand it even further into things like whiskeys, but we'll stick with brews for now.
I think we can include distilled beverages as well.
Then I'll give a double answer. For brews in the general category, I would have to say IPAs for me, hands down.
Oh, dear.
I absolutely love a good bitter IPA. Oh, that's my favorite.
Oh, you just made an enemy of
Yeah, you
failure.
sure have.
The more bitter, the better.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, you just like piss weak lager, don't you?
I like, Lara, I do like Guinness, but it's hard to get a good one, and I can't drink it too much because it makes my stomach go wonky. But, no, IPA. Oh, man, come on. Come on, Kevin. Please.
Oh, you got to try some with these mosaic hops. Oh, they're delicious.
Oh, Jesus Christ, no.
Well, I don't like any sort of beer or lager. It all just tastes the same to me. I think what it is I don't like the taste of hops, maybe.
Well, that's IPA, because that's all it is. I'm pretty sure they just put hops in a massive tub and go, done.
Actually, I think you might be right there, because a lot of the local breweries, any of them have IPAs on tap, but they very rarely have more complex, or we'll say better beer, maybe.
Tasty, I think, is that the word you're looking for?
Tastier beer, less bitter beer. I don't know.
Oh.
I love an IPA.
Well, I love cider and just anything apple-based, pretty much. From cheap rubbish cider to really expensive. I mean, my absolute favorite is Weston's Vintage Cider, which is 8.2%. So it's like cheap wine almost, but it doesn't taste it. It tastes like a 5% cider, even though it's an 8% cider, because it's very expensive, but I treat myself to one every couple of days or something like that.
You're holding a bottle up. I don't think I've ever seen cider in a fancy bottle. Like, quite honestly, if it's not a 3-liter plastic blue flagon, then I don't know what it is.
Do you prefer them on the sweeter side or the dry side?
It depends what mood I'm in. I can only drink really sweet ones occasionally, and only one or two, otherwise I get a headache. So generally, I would say medium generally is probably the best. But cider's more of a sort of fancy thing in America, isn't it? Well, because you've got cider and then hard apple cider, which is what I'm drinking here.
Yeah, hard apple cider is definitely the more popular of the two, at least in this area. And there's a decent number of them, especially the places that are starting to sell more craft beers. A lot of them have some really decent ciders as well.
Well, even in the supermarkets there, you can get some ciders. And my favorite one was was it Angry Orchard Rosé, which is very sweet, but that is like a pink cider. It's very manly. And that is absolutely delicious. But also I like Jägermeister, which I don't know. I think that might just come from going to metal venues to watch metal bands. And it was just really cheap there. And so I got into it. You could get like 2 Jaeger bombs for $5.
Oh, Jesus.
And so I just got really into it and just love it. But I also recently developed a taste for not quite rum, not straight up rum, but rum that's got like vanilla and stuff like that in it. There's one called Bumbu, which is really, really delicious. And they can't call it rum because it's got too much other shit in it. Like, I think they put a bunch of sugar as well as like vanilla and other spices and whatnot. And I love that.
Oh, my brother-in-law is all about Bumbu right now. That is probably his favorite drink. And you're right, it is very sweet.
I think you need to explain to Kevin exactly what a cider drinker in the UK would be the generic stereotype of. Come on, Joe.
Well, a cider drinker in the UK is either a young person who isn't of legal age to drink generally. So they're just like a bunch of kids will get a big plastic bottle of cheap cider and drink that in the park. Or generally people who live in the park would be into drinking cider.
That's where I was going with that one. And this is a man who goes walking very late at night as well with his bottle of cider, probably. So blending right in.
In a park, funnily enough, as well, yes.
That's just playing the part then, right?
Exactly. But now it's become more fashionable. Over the last 10 years or so, you've got your fancy ciders available, and most pubs have like at least one or two really fancy fruity ciders and stuff, with other fruit in it, like blackberries and all that kind of stuff, and pineapple and whatnot.
I think there was a tangerine cider or something along those lines here that I had recently. It was a blood orange. That's what it was. Blood orange cider. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's popular as well. Yeah. You're going to say some spirits as well then, Kevin. Whiskey, is it?
Oh, that's right. Actually, yes. Irish whiskey is what I tend to prefer.
Good choice. You're coming back.
Redbreast is probably my favorite.
Oh, yeah, it's
daily.
expensive in the States, especially. Jesus. Oh, he's obviously making good money here.
I say daily. Daily is like the everyday drink kind of thing, not the I actually drink it every day. That would be far too expensive. That is a really good one. I really do enjoy that one. There's also, obviously you've got your Jamesons and your Powers. One of the ones, though, that I really, really like right now is all of the spots. So your green spot, yellow spot, red spot, blue spot. Yeah.
Okay.
And then later I found there's a gold spot. I thought somebody was pulling my leg, but it turns out no, it's a real thing.
You thought you were in a Frasier episode. Oh, I have to have that one.
Although the only one you have to really watch out for, I think, is the blue spot, which is cask strength, and they don't tell you that if you're just ordering it. So that one is.
It's funny that none of us said tea or coffee.
Well, tea, obviously.
I'm assuming as an American you're going to say coffee, Kevin.
I was going to say coffee, yes, but I feel outnumbered here.
Well, no, you are perfectly matched because I don't drink either. I don't drink anything hot. It's either water, cider, or hard liquor for me.
So what's funny is I don't really like hot coffee. I drink tons of coffee, but it's all cold coffee. I cold brew it myself, or I go buy cold coffee.
All right, like iced coffee type thing.
Iced coffee is okay, and that gets a little bit watery, so usually I just prefer either a cold coffee or a cold brewed coffee.
Well, I never.
Iced tea is any tea below 98 degrees Celsius.
Yeah. You're not a proper British Isles living person if you don't drink tea all day long, essentially.
Oh, I have a teapot on my desk with a wee candle warmer from Germany, so absolutely.
Right, now it's Chris, Gary, and Dalton from Linux After Dark. Anarchy Inc. asks, what do you think a minimum wage should enable a person to do? My thoughts are 40 hours should be enough for a one-bedroom apartment, healthy food, healthcare, and enough for some leisure time or investing education. Investing education, does that mean like stocks and shares and stuff? Or does it mean investing in education?
Well, that's the point. Two of those things, I wonder if Anarchy Inc. is living in America, because two of those things should just be free. Healthcare and education should be provided universally.
Free at the point of service, yes.
Uh-huh.
Surely we're all going to agree that, minimum wage should be somewhere to live that is warm and safe and dry and, built to a reasonable standard. Healthy food, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, healthcare, education, transport, I think, as well. Access to be able to get around and, yeah, not just be terribly in debt or, having to skip meals or choose between eating and heating like people do in this country.
Yeah, that was the difficult thing about you take this quite far towards the kind of left-leaning version of it, and you get to something like the universal basic income. And it's something that I'm interested in. And people that don't like it are like, well, that would just make people lazy. And how does that even work? And it's trying to get people to see the mindset of, if you don't provide this minimum wage, then it costs more money because of all the things you just said, Joe. A minimum wage should allow a person to not get sick because they don't have enough of something.
Yeah.
Because in the end, that costs more money somewhere else.
Yeah, whether it's mental health issues or physical health issues, you're right, yeah. And so, yeah, working a full 40-hour week should give you just a basic standard of life. But I suppose what is a basic standard of life depends on your political persuasions, maybe. It probably shouldn't, but I think it does, especially in your country, Dalton.
Maslow recorded all of this so long ago. We don't need more research. Okay, we do. But still, people have learned what people need to survive for a very long time. It's hard to say that anyone doesn't understand that at this point.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. If someone has somewhere warm to sleep, food, healthcare, education, probably a little bit of money to go to the pub on a Friday night and have a pint of bitter or whatever it is that people do, I think that's probably about what you should get minimum wage. a little bit of leisure time, somewhere to live, the ability to eat and not be concerned about heating your house or basic utilities.
Couple of weeks of holiday vacation a year, I think. Not somewhere, jetting off halfway around the world, but in your country, maybe going to the coast if you've got one, or a nice national park or something. I think that should be something you should be able to afford on a minimum wage.
Yeah, I think so. I think you should be able to get away from life for at least a little while.
It's really broad in some ways as a topic as well, because basically everyone is worried. That's the problem. That's what I think it should be, the level that's set at, so that people aren't shitting bricks every time the first of the month comes around. We spend so much money on stuff that doesn't make us happy, actually. So I don't think it needs to be as much as people get, weirdly. But yeah, it's God, what a broad topic.
You should also be able to pay your bills. I mentioned heating, but, your water bill and internet, that sort of thing. You should be able to have, at least 100 megabits per second down. And, not everyone needs, 500 symmetric like you've got, Chris.
Yeah, not everyone needs that.
So many places in the US where you can't even pay to get that.
I know.
It's always a nice reset for me when I go away somewhere that's quite rural and I just take the bare minimum stuff I need with me. And it does give me a nice reminder when I do that 2 or 3 times a year that actually I don't need all the stuff I have, and that maybe I could afford to take a less stressful job, earn a little bit less money. But then on the flip side, it does remind me that I'm quite fortunate to be in a position where I don't have to do that, and it's not the reality.
And everyone's needs are different. It's very difficult to say that you should be able to do these things and then you will have a fulfilled life. Religions have been trying to do that for centuries. So I'd say it is kind of different for everyone, but at least getting people's basic needs met is probably a good start.
Nah.
Yeah, you absolutely should not be working 40 hours a week and worrying about money for the basic essentials. Something has just gone wrong with capitalism at that point. Now I'm joined by Gary again from Linux After Dark, Popey from Linux Matters, and Amolith from Linux Dev Time. Jacob asks, how long would you want to live if you could still be physically and mentally healthy, etc.? 200 years, 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years, forever?
The physically and mentally healthy part is the important bit of that to me. It's kind of personal, but I've always been, scared of the thought of getting old and everything starts decaying and shutting down. My memory stops working. All that kind of stuff.
This is correct, yes.
Yeah, what's that like, Popey?
Yes. Sorry, who said that? I can't hear you. Let me get my ear trumpet.
So if I can still be whole and hale in all those respects, maybe 500 years. I don't want to spend eternity watching my friends die around me, but I think a few hundred years could be a good middle ground.
I think all your friends might die in a few hundred years.
Well, yes, but it wouldn't be eternity watching them die.
It wouldn't just be every group of friends you ever make.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I asked my wife this question and answered it for her and said, forever. And she said, but you'd have to watch me die. I said, well, I'm just assuming you can be the same with me then. Let's say you can pick a few significant others.
Yeah, that was the real kicker for me was, do I have to watch everyone that I love die around me? Because if so, I don't want to live any longer than my natural lifespan would be. But if I get to pick a group of people who I love and can stay around, then probably longer. It's a tricky one.
Yeah, for me, it was the same. It all depended. It all hinged on partly whether I can have a group of friends or whether this is just everyone. Everyone now lives to 200 or everyone now lives to 1,000 or 10,000 years. If everyone now lives to 1,000 years old, then that's great because that's normal and everyone does that and everyone's going to be healthy till they're 1,000 years old and that's fine. And I guess I could watch all of YouTube probably in that time or I don't know, maybe learn Rust perhaps. But I don't know if there's a certain amount of time beyond which it gets a bit ludicrous and there's just too much time. I know people who say if you win the lottery or if you come into a huge sum of money and you just say, oh, I'll just stay at my job and I'll carry on being me. And it's just, you're not imaginative enough. And the same thing, if you've got all the time or all the money in the world and you can't think of what to do with it, you're not imaginative enough. But I think there comes a point, a natural end to this thing. And I think maybe 1,000 years is too much. Maybe.
1,000 too much? No way, man. I want to see forever. I want to see the heat death of the universe.
I mean, if it's too long, then you get bored, potentially, and you end up like that character in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Bowerick Wowbagger. He becomes immortal and he gets bored, and so he decides to insult everyone in the entire universe in alphabetical order. And so I thought that, you know, maybe I'd come up with some kind of challenge that was incredibly hard and incredibly time consuming to occupy the 1,000 years, because I don't really want to just be paying a mortgage every month and, you know, sitting down at a desk every month. If I've got 1,000 years, I want to do something with it.
Well, yeah, you'd first of all make a load of money and then do something interesting. Like for me, it would be trying to understand the secrets of the universe. I'd try and understand physics. And if I had 1,000,000 years to do it, then the people around me hopefully would progress and I'd try and do my bit, as thick as I am. And I'd want to try and understand the secrets of the universe. I wouldn't just sit around playing guitar and, you know, playing with my computers.
I'm not sure that's how it works. I don't think if you just had one person who happens to live for a very long time, that is better or different than having 1,000 people over 1,000 years, all having their own brains working on it. I'm not sure that just because you live longer, you're going to fix this thing that nobody else has managed to fix.
No, I don't think I would necessarily fix it. I think I would just watch other people fix it and then they'd explain it to me.
I'm also not sure that just because I live longer and I'm mentally healthy, my brain capacity increases proportionately over that time. Like, I couldn't tell you what I did 3 years ago, let alone 300 years ago.
Then there's also the memory consideration. Can you hold 1,000 years of memories in your head? How much are you going to forget? Are you going to forget the people you grew up with in your first 100 years?
Then there's the technical problem that, like, the devices around you, we've already been through Y2K and we've got the 2038 32-bit bug coming up in a few years. What happens when we hit the 64-bit bug? Like, if you live forever, all the computers are just going to stop working around you. It's going to be a disaster.
No, we'll fix it. It'll be fine.
Right.
Or, to be a bit of a downer, things won't work out civilization-wise and I'll get to see the end of it.
Do you not think if people realize that you are the chosen one and you live forever, they'll come for you? Or you'll just slip in the kitchen one day and break your neck?
Yeah, because I suppose you're not immortal, are you?
No.
According to the question.
No.
You're just healthy. And yeah, it'd be like in that movie Death Becomes Her, where they just slowly fall to bits.
Yes.
But no, I want to live forever if I can.
All right, Elon.
He says, drinking his can of cider.
But then when everything's gone, what are you going to do? When it's just void? Is it going to be void? I mean, what if that is what happens?
I'll just float around and just sing, Baby Shark, just over and over again forever.